Good afternoon, dear students. Hope all of you are well. So right now, as you can see, we are not going through very good times. It's up to you to maintain your studies. Okay? I know you're missing your classes, we are missing our students, but this is the best that we can do in these circumstances. And hopefully, we have got the impression that from September classes are going to start. If so, that would be very nice, and definitely we will quickly revise whatever we have tried to cover through our online classes. And as you know, in first year itself, you have realized that in college, you are independent. How much time you utilize in what manner depends on you. And I know very well that right now, all of you are strategically thinking in terms of your careers. So do not waste your time. Make the most, in fact, of your time. And one of the things that this pandemic has taught us is to go digital, right? So build up on your digital capacities. Pisole tumalkore kamot ahibo. Okay. And another thing I want to tell you is that Purabhi ma'am has given you some assignment. Even I'll start giving you these assignments. Work out those. And if you have any confusion anywhere, you're always welcome to contact us. At least when you do your assignments, you will realize whether you have covered the subject, whether you have understood the topic, and whether you can proceed to the next unit. Okay, so let's briefly refresh what we are doing so far. And let me see. Yes. Last class, we started off with Unit 2. Unit 2 is about consumer behavior and demand. And here we are going to do consumer equilibrium. And there are basically two approaches, cardinal utility approach and ordinal utility approach. And we are going to do one commodity case. Briefly, let's refresh. What are the things we have done? First, we had studied what we understand by the concept of consumer. Then we had, as I've mentioned just now, we had said that studying consumers' behavior, studying how consumer uses some sort of rationale to arrive at the equilibrium state, there are basically two approaches to study that. That is cardinal approach and ordinal approach. Ordinal, we'll go to it later on. Right now, last class, we had clarified the concepts associated with cardinal approach. And the cardinal approach, the theme, the main, the main idea behind cardinal approach is that the utility, or let's say the satisfaction that we derive from consumption, or let's say make it more simple, from the use of a commodity or a service, that is measurable. And we say that whenever a commodity provides us with some satisfaction, we say it possesses utility, and this utility can be measured. How do we measure it? In terms of utils. And when we talk of utils, let us say that this utils can also be expressed in terms of money, which makes it very convenient for us to make comparison regarding utils derived from different items or maybe goods. And we had studied the concepts of total utility, marginal utility. Do you remember? Total utility means summation of all the utilities obtained from the consumption of a particular commodity. So if I have, say, 5 units of a commodity, say I have 5 glasses of water, the total satisfaction that I get from consumption of 5 glasses of water, that is my total utility. Now each glass of water gives me different levels of satisfaction. When I express the amount of satisfaction or the utility that I get from each glass of water, that is known as marginal utility, right? Also, we had established a relationship between total utility and marginal utility. Do you remember what it was? Marginal utility is always maximum from the first unit of the commodity consumed, and successively as we go on consuming more and more units of the same commodity, marginal utility goes on declining. A point comes when we consume a commodity but the utility we get from it is 0, and after that if we still go on consuming the same commodity, the utility we derive from it is negative, right? So when marginal utility is positive, total utility goes on increasing. When marginal utility is 0, total utility is maximum, and when marginal utility becomes negative, total utility starts declining. So this is the relationship between total utility and marginal utility. Now, taking the help of these concepts associated with the cardinal approach, we are going to look at consumer's equilibrium in the case of a single commodity using the cardinal utility analysis. Okay, so I have used the term consumer's equilibrium. Consumer's equilibrium manenuki. Now I've just written it for your convenience. You can always refer to this definition that I have put here in front of you. Consumer's equilibrium refers to a situation where a consumer is having maximum satisfaction with limited income and has no tendency to change his way of existing expenditure. In other words, we also call it as a point of balance. So what do we see here? Consumer has income. He uses this income to buy goods. The goods has a price. So at that point where he's spending his income to buy certain amount of commodity, units of a commodity, and that particular unit of commodity gives him maximum satisfaction, that is a state of consumer's equilibrium. Got it? It is also known as point of balance. He has no tendency to change the situation. He doesn't want at that given income and at that given price of the commodity, he has no tendency to either increase the units of commodity he is consuming or to decrease the unit of commodities that he is consuming. That is known as consumer's equilibrium. Consumer's equilibrium or main concept to key, the main concept to hold, that it is a point of maximum satisfaction, right? And we have used the term one commodity case. One commodity case simply means that in this particular example, through the cardinal approach, we are going to assume that the consumer spends his income in buying one commodity. Okay, so this is one hypothetical situation that we have taken. The consumer uses his income to buy one commodity, and that is a case of one commodity case. And we are going to look into consumer's equilibrium when he buys one commodity using the cardinal approach. Before we go into the theory, there are certain terms that we are going to come across. Briefly, let's find out what are these terms we are going to use. MUX, marginal utility of commodity X. Simply, what does it mean? The utility that we get from each unit consumed. Okay, and earlier on we have already familiarized ourselves with the concept of marginal utility. We have said that as we go on increasing the consumption of a commodity, the utility from each successive unit goes on decreasing. Clear enough? Remember, I give you the example of glass of water. If you are very thirsty, first glass of water will give you a lot of satisfaction. You are still thirsty, second glass of water will give you satisfaction, but definitely less than the first glass. And in the process, as you go on increasing the consumption of glasses of water, each successive glass will give you utility or satisfaction, but at a decreasing rate, right? So that is the concept of marginal utility of X commodity. Px simply means price of commodity X. Now, nothing is free out here. When he consumes a commodity, there is a price for the commodity, he has to pay the price. Now, let me digress a little. Common main concept to pratoriye isu aru eta example disu. Suppose manhu eta gol biya khonloi tate cold drinks dise jiman mon jay khao pare. In such case, we will not talk of consumer's equilibrium because he is getting it free. So at that time, we will not talk that about what is the point of his maximum satisfaction. The whole concept of maximum satisfaction, the whole concept of consumer's equilibrium comes about because the consumer has limited income. That limited income is used for consumption of one commodity, in this case say commodity X, and that commodity X has a price assigned, and the consumer gets more and more of the commodity by paying the necessary price associated with it. Now, price of the commodity is constant. If I go tomorrow, the price will remain the same. If some different consumer goes to get the commodity, the price will also remain the same. So here there is no change in the price. Once a price is established, it remains that way. Now, another thing I have again written you as MUX means that marginal utility of a commodity can also be expressed in terms of money. Okay. See, we are comparing or we are looking at measurement of utility in terms of utils. Now, price of a commodity is expressed in terms of money. If we are to look into consumer's equilibrium, there has to be a common, how will I put it? There has to be a system, or there has to be a method which enables the consumer to, to compare the satisfaction that he gets from the commodity and the money he spends on the commodity. So, when MUX in terms of money is that satisfaction or the utility that I get from the commodity, I'm looking at it in terms of money. Now let me give you one example to make it very simple. Suppose I'm a consumer, I assign a value that for 1 rupee I get, or let's make it this way, that for me 1 rupee is equal to 1 util, because it's arbitrary, it depends from consumer to consumer, it varies. In my case, I say that 1 rupee is equal to 1 util. So I go to a movie, and suppose from the movie I get a satisfaction of 20 utils. Okay, so that means my marginal utility from watching the movie is 20 utils. So in terms of money, how much will it be? Remember, as a consumer, I have decided that 1 util is equal to 1 rupee. That means if I spend 20 rupees, I will get satisfaction of 20 utils that I have got by watching the movie, right? So what I have done is that I have measured my utility that I have obtained from consumption of a good or a service in terms of money. Clear? Now we are going to be familiar with another term, MUX by PX. Now MUX by PX is nothing but utility per unit of rupee spent. Let me give you an example. Suppose utility I get from buying one orange is say 5 rupees. Okay, or not 5 rupees, sorry. Say suppose I say 5 utils. So from I buy one orange and I get 5 utils out of it. the price of the orange is say 5 rupees. So that means I get per rupee 1 util. Suppose I buy an orange, I get 10 utils out of it. Suppose the price of the orange is how much? Say, let's say 5 rupees. So that means I have got 2 utils per rupee from consumption of 1 orange. Okay, so it is nothing but utility per rupee spent. Yet another term we will come across is marginal utility of money. That means marginal utility of money means the value of money that I assign to it. The money which stays in my money bag, it has some value. So suppose I am a consumer, I assign a value to the amount of money that I have with me. Suppose I assign a value that 1 rupee is equal to 1 util. I am using that 1 rupee is equal to 1 util because I have said so earlier also. You might say something else. You might say that 1 rupee is equal to 2 utils because it varies from consumer to consumer. So the amount of utils that I have assigned to a rupee as a consumer, that is known as marginal utility of money. So these are certain terms that we use while looking at consumers' equilibrium through the cardinal approach. Okay. Now, remember earlier on we had done the law of diminishing marginal utility. Now, the assumptions of the law of diminishing marginal utility is also applicable in this case. And so, if you remember, the law of diminishing marginal utility states that the more of a commodity we have, the less of it we want. In other words, as we go on consuming more and more units of a commodity, the utility derived from each successive unit goes on diminishing. And last class to monota said, I had just referred to the satisfaction thermometers that you see in front of you. যে আমি যেতিয়া successively এটা unit repeatedly consume কৰি থাকো, প্ৰত্যেকটো successive unitৰ পৰা আমি যোনখিনি satisfaction পাওঁ কমি কমি আহে. That is what the law of diminishing marginal utility tells us. And in finding out consumers' equilibrium through cardinal approach in the case of one commodity case, we are going to refer and we are going to use the law of diminishing marginal utility. ঠিক আছে? There are two important factors which determine the amount of the good consumed. It already I refer koriswe, and again I'm coming back to you to it. It's the price of the commodity, expected marginal utility from each successive unit. Bostur damtu to amak mane birate important. Aru damor against ami jeta bostu eta consume koru, hetu prano ami satisfaction kiman pam. So এই দুটা factors এই কারণে important because subconsciously or consciously a consumer is always comparing the two. Remember in the first class also I had talked about value for money. So we say money's worth, right? So these two factors are important because when we give the price to buy a commodity, we give emphasis to the utility we get from it. And always we are making a comparison of the two. Like I said, maybe subconsciously. But somewhere down the line, that is the rationale for a consumer. So these two factors play a very important role in determining consumers' equilibrium. Okay, we know the background. Against this background, let us see how consumers' equilibrium is derived in the case of single commodity as is there before you. So here we have a schedule. In the first column, you have units of the commodity consumed. Then you have the price. Then the utils derived from each unit consumed. Next one, we look at the marginal utility of the commodity in terms of rupee, or in terms of money rather. Then we look into the differences between the utility obtained and the price paid, and last column we make a comparison. Now let us see what this table is all about. We buy unit 1 of a commodity. Price is 10, utility derived is 20. You might ask, how did we decide 20? The thing is that as a consumer, I have assigned a value of 20 utils from the first unit of commodity that I have consumed. Okay. Now, what I have done now is that I have decided that 1 util is equal to 1 rupee. So, marginal utility in terms of money I have converted in the 4th column. So, because 1 util is equal to 1 rupee, so 20 divided by 1 gives me 20 utils in terms of money, right? Then let me see the difference between the utils in terms of money and the price of the commodity. From the first commodity, the utility that I have obtained, which I have converted in terms of money, is 20. And the price that I have paid for it is 10. So what has happened? I have gained more. So my satisfaction is more than the price I have paid for it. Okay, and how much satisfaction more than the price I have paid for it? 10 units. Similarly, for the second unit, I paid, the price is constant throughout, remember? So I pay a price of 10 rupees. From the second unit, I get utility of 16. Remember, marginal utility or the utility derived from each commodity goes on diminishing. From the second one, I get 16 units of utils. I convert the 16 utils into money by dividing it by 1, because 1 util is equal to 1 rupee. So I still stand to gain. My satisfaction is more than the amount of price I am paying for it, because the price I am paying for it is rupees 10, as you can see from the 5th column for the second commodity, and the satisfaction I've got from it is 16. So what has happened for the first 2 units is that the utility obtained from consumption of the 2 units is more than the price that I have got for it. So I will go on increasing consumption. What happens in the case of the third unit? Just see, price is 10, utility is 10, marginal utility converted into monetary term is 10. So difference between the utility I have got and the price I have got is 0, because 10 minus 10 is 0. So at this point, the marginal utility or the utility that I have got from the consumption of the third unit is equal to the price that I have paid for it. So that is a case of equilibrium. What happens after it? Let's see. For the fourth unit, the price is 10. It remains constant. Marginal utility is going on decreasing. Now it has become 4 units. Marginal utility converted into monetary terms gives me 4. So my utility from the fourth unit is 4, and the price I'm paying for it is rupees 10. So more than satisfaction, it is a case of dissatisfaction, in the sense that I'm paying more than the satisfaction I'm getting for it, right? So that happens not only for the fourth unit, it happens for fourth, fifth, sixth unit. So in such cases, definitely when I pay a greater price than the satisfaction I'm receiving for it, I will never buy that commodity. Now that's true for any rational consumer. I will buy a commodity only when I think that it's worth the money I'm paying for it. If I feel that I'm paying more than the satisfaction I'm getting for it, I will never buy it. So by elimination, we see here that in the first 2 cases, the consumer is getting more satisfaction than the price he's paying for it. So he will go on increasing consumption. And in the case of 4th, 5th, 6th unit, he is getting less satisfaction than the price is paying, so he will never buy more. So we can narrow it down to only one situation where consumer's equilibrium is at a balance, and that is situation of the 3rd unit, till the 3rd unit, where at that point the satisfaction and the price paid for it is equal. Got it? So go through this schedule. This schedule gives us in a very concise manner how consumer reaches equilibrium, and he zeroes down on the number of units that he is going to buy at the price assigned for it, right? So this schedule has been converted into a graph. So let us look into the graph. You can see on the OY axis the utility and the price of the commodity is written in terms of rupees, and on the OX axis you have units of the commodity. Equilibrium point is at point E, where he is buying 3 units of the commodity at the price 10 per commodity. And for 5th unit of the commodity, the 0 point of satiety is the marginal utility is 0, right? So this is the case of consumer's equilibrium with the help of cardinal approach, and this concept of consumer's equilibrium tells us how a consumer who is spending his income on purchasing a commodity arrives at a state of balance where he is happy in the sense that he is getting maximum satisfaction at buying certain level of output at a given price. We have written down the equilibrium condition in the form of a formula. Equilibrium condition is when MUX is equal to PX. That means the marginal utility obtained from the commodity is equal to the price that is paid for it, or we can also say that MUX by MUM is equal to PX, or at the same thing we have just slightly in the formula we have rewritten it. MUX by PX is equal to MUM, and remember, MUX is the utility obtained from the consumption of the commodity, and divided by PX is nothing but the utility per unit of rupees spent, and MUM is nothing but the marginal utility of a rupee. So when the marginal utility of a rupee is equal to the utility from per rupee, that is a case of equilibrium condition for the consumer. Okay, so we have come to the end of this class. Thank you. But although this lecture is over, remember, it is your responsibility to revise and communicate in the WhatsApp group for queries. Till the next class, I hope you do have some queries which we can look up. Thank you.